Hi everyone, my name is Kara and I am a blogger and influencer. I was recently at Rythmia at the end of August, and that was my first time there, my first time doing ayahuasca. I wanted to create this video to give you guys a better understanding or an inside look at what Rythmia is like and what plant medicine ceremony might be like. It's different for everyone, so this is just my personal experience. It's extremely different for everyone, so if you're interested in doing this, don't think your experience is going to be just like this. There's probably a ton of stuff that I either won't remember or won't be able to fit into this video, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to look at my notes that I took while I was at Rythmia. I wrote down most of the important parts. It's all important, but the things that stood out to me the most. So hopefully I can give you a better look at what Rythmia is like and what my experience with ayahuasca was. I wanted to share my story and share this video so that if anyone else is debating going or feels like they've exhausted all options of healing, that there's other options for you. And I'm gonna share why I went there and all of that good stuff, so hopefully it'll help someone out there. So I'll give you a little background on my story and what kind of pushed me to go to Rythmia. I pretty much suffered with depression and anxiety. Anxiety most of my life. I can remember having anxiety even as a child. But as far as depression, I think my earliest memory of that was around like 13. My trauma goes way back. I just lived in a very dysfunctional household growing up. There was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of drinking, physical and verbal abuse, neglect, things that a lot of people deal with, unfortunately. And I didn't start really looking into that until in my mid-20s. In the last couple of years, it started taking a toll on me physically and mentally. Something I didn't realize until maybe last year, and when I decided to go to Rythmia, was how badly my mental health, my mental state, with all the trauma that I've been going through, was directly connected to my physical illness. And that's something that ayahuasca and Rythmia really helped me realize. So I was suffering very badly. There was like, even right before I went to Rythmia, a couple months before, I was having trouble even getting up the steps. I was suffering really bad with autoimmune. I had Lyme and Epstein-Barr. I was extremely fatigued. I had a lot of pain, joint and muscle pain, extreme headaches every single day. I think I suffered with headaches every single day for like 9 years. So yeah, my health was just really bad. I was pretty much thinking I was gonna die every single night. Every night I was going to sleep, I was asking my husband to check on me in the morning before he goes to sleep. Before he goes to work, to like make sure that I was still alive. I felt like I was gonna die every single day. And I was at the end of my rope. I was extremely depressed. Last year I was suicidal, and that pushed me to go to a doctor where I was given Lexapro. So I was on Lexapro for about 8 or 9 months. I actually stopped about 2 months before I went to Rythmia because you can't be on any medication. I think it's at least 30 days. So I stopped my Lexapro 2 months before I went to Rythmia, and that was pretty difficult. A lot of vertigo, the suicidal, depressive thoughts were coming back. I was just not good for like the last 2 to 3 years. So I spent the last 2 to 3 years going to every doctor imaginable. They would either send me out of the office or just give me medication. There was no talk about trauma or things that I've been through. I just got extremely desperate, and I heard about ayahuasca about like 2 years ago, or maybe a little more than that. my friend Jen, I heard her speak at a networking event about what she does and her website. I kind of viewed it as a drug because I actually suffer with trauma with that too. My mom is an alcoholic. She's sober now, thank God. But so growing up, I just stayed away from drugs and alcohol, and so that was not my thing. So when I heard her talk about this and how it, you know, helps heal all of these things, I thought it was really great, but I was just terrified. I would never do that, you know. So years down the line, I had always been like thinking about it in the back of my head, and I just loved Jen's energy, and she's just like such a kind and sweet person. And I just kept thinking about it, and I finally reached out to her and I asked for some more information, and she put me in touch with people at Rythmia, and they were kind enough to have me as a media trade, so thank you, Rythmia. So I talked to Jen a little more, and it just felt right. It just felt like it was my time. So I think if you already know about ayahuasca and you have some interest in it, it was probably put in your life for a reason, and you should probably experience it. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on my actual experience. So this is ceremony 1, and for the first ceremony, my intention was show me who I've become. And when you get to Rythmia, they walk you through pretty much everything. You go to workshops before your first ceremony. You hear Jerry talk about, you know, what to expect and what to do if you feel like you have to purge and all these things. Like, you don't go into it blind. You get a medical checkup when you get there. They clear you for ceremony. You don't have to worry about something bad happening. There's doctors there, there's people to support you at every moment. So there's really nothing to worry about. And they also help you set intentions. So at Rythmia, they say there's 3 intentions that you can set. The first one is show me who I've become. The second one is merge me with my soul at all costs. And the third one is heal my heart. So once you have those things answered, then they say you won't have any more questions. So for the first night, that's what my intention was. I wanted the medicine to show me who I've become. I was extremely nervous the first night, like in control, but nervous. I just was going with it, and that felt very uncomfortable. The first night, I go up and I get my medicine and I go lay back on my mattress. I remember I got in line quick, so I was at like the front of the line, and I just remember thinking, why did I get in line so quick? Because now I'm gonna go back. I drank the medicine and I go back and sit, and I'm thinking all these people are still in line, and now I'm gonna like start going into my journey, and the lights are on and everyone's in line. They're gonna see me. No, that doesn't happen. So you can tell I just wasn't trusting, I guess. I wasn't trusting the medicine. I wasn't trusting the experience. So I started talking to Mother Ayahuasca. I started talking to the medicine and saying, please just allow me to trust you. Just wait until I'm like a little more ready to start traveling, to start journeying. And everything was fine. So I was thinking, show me who I've become. The medicine is gonna show me I am judgmental, I'm angry, I'm all of these things. I was just kind of waiting for those things to come up, and it kind of was the opposite. So I pretty much started the ceremony off with, please allow me to trust you. I don't know how much more I can handle. I'm broken, I'm sick. Please take it easy on me. I don't know if I can handle this. And it was a very slow and comforting experience that night. So the medicine started off telling me who I've become, or showing me who I've become, and it said that I'm just so mean to myself, that all I do is talk bad to myself, and that I'm a goddess, and that I should sit up straight and talk greatly about myself and be proud of myself. And it gave me this strength and this sense of power that I had never felt before. Like the medicine told me, like, get up and feel how powerful you are. And I just remember like walking to the bathroom and just feeling like I was like glowing. I was just glowing and floating through this room, and like it felt like my hair was moving and it was just lovely. I just felt like that was who I was, and the person who was saying you're not good enough and all these things wasn't me. So that was really great to feel, and I found out what it's like if you say nice, empowering things to yourself. So since I've been back, I could count on one hand how many mean things I've said to myself, and I always caught myself. I don't believe those things anymore. Before, I truly did believe those things, and that's because people told me those things and I believed them. Especially people that I loved and respected told me those things. So once we got through that part of telling me who I'd become, I started healing my family and generations. My grandmother came to me. So I wasn't expecting this, but when you do ayahuasca, they say you heal 7 generations before and 7 generations after you. And I just started feeling so many things for my family. I started feeling just so much sadness for the things my mom has been through, my aunts, uncles, my brothers, just all of these things, and I felt exactly how they felt. And there was a couple times where I just bawled my eyes out for people, and I just sent so much love to them and so much healing. And there was one part in particular where I felt so much sadness for my mom and things that she's been through, that I asked the medicine to heal her through me, and I asked what I could do to help her, and I started getting messages of things that I knew she kind of was wondering before. I just had to go get some water. Okay, so I left off saying I asked pretty much how I could heal my mom with the medicine through me, and I was crying harder than I think I've ever cried in my life for my mom. I don't even know if I cried that hard when I was born. It was just this like soul cry. Like you just feel your body trembling with this cry, and I knew it was all the pain that she had been through. So I asked the medicine if I could heal my mom through me, and some messages came to me from ancestors and from my grandmother. And so my grandmother, my mom's mom, she went in for a surgery, and she ended up passing away. And I think there was some confusion on what happened because everyone was expecting her to come out of that, and so it was pretty sudden that she passed away. And I know that was hard for my mom to deal with, and I know she kind of always had, you know, this question about it, and if there was things she could have done or if things could be different. And so the message I got from my grandmother, who was there from the beginning, she was, you know, placing white light over me, and during the ceremonies you do motions with your hands that you might not do otherwise. So I kept putting my hands like this and just like putting white light all over my body, and it was actually through my grandmother, it felt like. So she came to me from the beginning. But when I asked to heal my mom, my grandmother came to me and she told me that she knew that she was going to die 2 weeks before she actually passed away during that surgery, and that she had a choice to go or stay, and she chose to leave this earth, and she chose it to save our family, and she knew that I would help heal my family, or help heal our family through her doing plant medicine. So she knew all of this, and that's why she chose to go. So another thing that came through or happened to me during the first ceremony to help heal my mom was some clarity on her sister who passed away. So my aunt passed away when she was a lot younger, so this was way before my time. So when we first laid down for the ceremony, I was in between Erica and Martina, who were these beautiful women that I met. So we were all gonna lay in a row, and I had Martina to my left, then it was me, and then there was a bed directly under the window, and Erica sat down there. So Erica was saying, this bed is not for me, this is not where I want to lay. She just felt uncomfortable laying there, which is fine, because when you come into ceremony, the first maybe 1 or 2 ceremonies, you're like, you don't know where to pick, you're you know, so anxious to pick a bed, you don't know where is going to be the best spot, and so you kind of feel it out. And so Erica didn't want to lay in that bed, so I ended up having an empty bed next to me. And during that ceremony, like towards the end, when I was asking how to heal my mom through the medicine, I had my aunt who passed away when she was a lot younger. I'm not sure exactly how old she was, but she was a lot younger. I wasn't born yet. My mom was still very young, and it was a traumatic experience for my mom and for my whole family, basically, on my mom's side. During that ceremony, my aunt's soul came to me and laid on that bed next to me. So I don't know if she was there the whole time, or if she had come there, or Erica just kind of didn't feel comfortable there. I'm not sure what the correlation is, but I thought that was interesting. So my mom's sister, her soul came and laid in the bed next to me, and I pretty much like healed her all night. And the part of this that is weird is I took my mom a couple years ago to a medium, and I wanted her to have some closure on my grandmother, her mom, and her sister. And the medium was able to speak with or connect with my grandmother's spirit, but she wasn't able to connect with my mom's sister, my aunt. So she said sometimes when people struggle with addiction or mental illness, that they go to like a purgatory type of place, and that they need more healing. And she said she saw her on a bed. She said she saw her on a bed, a white bed. She's not sure what's happening. So I thought that was kind of crazy. And then there she was in this white bed next to me, which I never even like thought of that during it. I never even thought of the medium or anything. I kind of just, it was just happening. I held her, I asked her what happened, and I kept asking all these questions, and she just said it doesn't matter. Like, it's done, it doesn't matter, and she was just there to heal. So I just kept holding her hand, and finally I just felt like I wasn't holding her anymore, and I saw her like run away as a little girl again. And I just remember saying, like, just feeling like I wanted to spend more time with her and get to know her more. But she like ran away as like this rebellious like little girl. I was telling her to come back, and she was like, no. And like she was just done there, you know. And when I say see, it's kind of like when you're dreaming. So when you dream, you have this idea of these things, but you're not actually seeing them like in your bedroom. So that's basically what the ceremony felt like to me. So I see her run away as this little girl, and I looked to the bed next to me, and it was just dark. It looked like she had left all this soot on the bed. And I just remember being so happy that she left that and that she was healed now. And I remember kind of just like pushing that off the bed, and I just felt so light and airy and warm and tingly. It was just like this pure happiness that I felt. After I did the healing with my aunt, my mom's sister, after I pushed all of the soot onto the ground and all of the things that she left behind, I laid there and a caterpillar was crawling up my leg. And it's kind of funny because when I got home, I was telling my mom about this, and she told me that one of like her biggest memories of her sister is that she had this like caterpillar toy. So I thought that was kind of cool. And during the ceremony, the first ceremony, I did purge, and I had a rebirth. So I just remember sitting up to throw up, and I felt like when I was throwing up, I couldn't catch my breath. So well, it's almost like there was a moment there where I just didn't black out, but it was just like a moment there, you know, where I just was like, this is it. I was throwing up and I was like, like I couldn't breathe. And finally I just turned my head and I took in this like big deep breath of air, and I felt like I was reborn. I felt like that was a death and a rebirth for me. And one of the healers came over when I was throwing up, because when you purge, if you're having a rough time, there's always someone there to help you. They know exactly if you need help or if you need to do it on your own. So I kind of, after that happened, I just felt a presence with me, and I finally looked and there was a healer there. I wish I knew his name. And he was just like lightly fanning me, and he handed me like a little tissue, and I just was like so thankful for him. And I just felt so light, like I had just released all this stuff, you know, for my mom, for myself, for my family. It was this like incredible feeling, and I just laid there next to my bucket and I was just so happy. And I remember building this family tree. I was kind of like tracing it out on the bed, and I was thinking about family members, and I saw my uncle, who has had a really troubled life, and I was pretty much told that he's gonna have it pretty rough until the day that he dies, and that he'll go back to his like purest form as a little boy again. And they say that when we die, that's when we're connected to our soul again, or when you do plant medicine, or if you have a near-death experience. So that's what I was told. And I saw all of my dogs, like all of my animals, they were surrounding my heart. And I was told that like all of the animals that are in my life, that they came at a certain point to protect my heart and to help me heal. Yeah, so I saw all of my dogs, and early on in mine and Mike's relationship, we fought a lot. There were times when we got super loud, or I would throw something, and there was times where I feel like I traumatized the dogs. Like I feel like they would get very scared when I would raise my voice, and I just remember feeling so sad for them and feeling so sad that I did that to them. And then I saw my older brother, and I just remember like tapping on my bed, and it just felt hard, and I pictured his chest and his heart, and his chest was super hard, and like I couldn't get in. Like I wanted to get into his chest and heal his heart, and it was just like locked. I knew deep down that like he would let me in and that I would be able to heal him a little bit. So I just kept trying and kept trying, and finally it like softened up, and I had this key, and I opened up my brother's chest, and I saw his heart, and it was ripped in half. And I just remember feeling so sad, and that, but also so hopeful, because I knew he was gonna heal. And I remember kind of just taking his heart in my hands and putting it back together. I said I sewed it back up. and I was told that he would heal the rest of his heart. So I opened his chest, I unlocked it, and I left it unlocked for him so that he can heal the rest of his own heart. And I just like held it, and I gave him like so much healing and so much love. And I actually wrote in my notes here, I need to do work when I get home. And it's so crazy because I don't remember writing this, but when I got home I did like very healing meditation with my brother, and it was like profound, and we just shared like this really amazing moment. So that's kind of cool because I had this urge to do that when I got home, but I felt nervous to do that because I was like, who am I to lead someone through a meditation right now? Like, I spent a week at Rythmia and I think I can lead meditation, but it was very amazing. There was another vision that I got, and it was from when I was probably like 12 or 13, and we had already moved away from my dad. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and then we moved down to South Jersey. So it was just my mom and me and my 2 brothers. And my mom was drinking really bad at the time. She was struggling really bad. I remember this one night where my mom was drinking really bad, and it was just chaotic, and I felt really alone and just desperate and lost. And I remember leaving the house at night, and I just walked blocks until I found a bench. And I just remember laying on the bench for a while. I might have even fallen asleep, but I just remember laying on this bench, and sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did nothing happen to me? Because we lived in a nice neighborhood, but it wasn't like the greatest area. I mean, anything can happen in any neighborhood, but it just wasn't the best area. So I look back and I just remember thinking, like, how did nothing happen to me? So during the first ceremony, I saw the vision of me on the bench when I ran away. And I saw that my ancestors were protecting me in that moment, and that they were always protecting me. So in every moment that I, was getting myself into danger, or, doing something dangerous as a kid to try to escape, I always had ancestors protecting me. So my notes here, my first cup showed me what a goddess I am, gave me so much strength, and took all of my fear away. She was so gentle. When I walked, it was like the earth was living in me. She taught me how to heal myself. I took away all the pain and anxiety in my stomach through my hands. So that was another thing. You will learn how to heal yourself. So like I was saying, I had a lot of body pain. And during the ceremony, I had a lot of tension here, and I just remember twirling and twirling and twirling, and it was like I was taking like goo and just like yarn and like these like gunky things out of myself. And so that's what I was talking about right there. So that was pretty much the first ceremony. I remember the medicine saying to me, like, tonight was very gentle, but you have to prepare to go through hardness. So I was like, oh crap, because I was at the end of the ceremony. And I remember at the very, very end of the first ceremony, like right before the lights came back on, I saw myself attached to my soul by this like hair. It was like just holding on. So then the lights came on, and that was it. And I just remember being like, come on, I was right there. Okay, so this was the second night. This started happening as soon as ceremony started. So I was one of the first people that started feeling it. Like, people were still kind of like chatting around me, and I was just like, I like went straight into it. So I left off the first night with seeing myself and my soul connected by that little string. And so I started this ceremony off by like pulling on the string. I felt like I was pulling on it for so long, and when I finally got to a certain point, it like broke. It was like I had nothing to pull anymore. And I just remember feeling sad, like I wasn't gonna connect with my soul. And I hear like Spirit or Mother Ayahuasca say to me, it's okay, she's coming and she sees you. And so I just laid there and laid there and laid there, and I was waiting, and I felt like my soul wasn't coming to me because I had too much illness in my body. So in my head, I was like, oh, maybe if you purge, then your soul will come to you. So I was trying to throw up, and Sarah, one of the female shamans, she came to me and she told me that it would come when it was ready. And she rubbed this, I don't know what it is. It's like some sort of liquid, but it's supposed to bring sweetness. So she rubbed that on me, and I just laid back down and I waited and I waited. And then my soul finally came to me, and it was my 3-year-old soul. So that's when I detached from my soul at 3 years old. And she came and she sat next to me, and I was laying kind of in like fetal position. My body was just breathing for me, like I wasn't in control of this, and I was going like I was taking these deep breaths, and as I was doing that, I felt like my soul was coming back into me. And I was told that my soul, there's something with like 300 years. I don't know what it was, if my soul is 300 years old, I'm not sure. I kept seeing the number 3. So I breathed my soul in. I remember feeling so happy that I was reconnected. So I was like, okay, now everything's gonna be blissful. And it just was not like that. I felt like when my soul came into my body, like it was almost like my soul didn't like what was inside of me. So there was trauma and physical illness and the autoimmune and everything, and that's when the purging began. And I was just purging and purging, and I felt like I couldn't purge enough. And so I was basically clearing room for my soul to grow inside of me. And then my soul, myself and my soul, we like grew up together, and we finally matched our ages. I felt this, like I didn't know what to do. I was like very uncomfortable now. I was like, I reconnected, but I'm still uncomfortable. It just was very confusing to me. And I felt like I needed to go outside. So I can't remember if it was Jerry or someone else at Rythmia, but they say when you're uncomfortable, you need to sit with it, because you're trying to learn something, you're trying to grow. And instead I ran from it, and they say not to do that. But I did it, and I felt like I needed to go outside to like escape this, to get fresh air. When I went outside, I just like took my pillow. I probably looked like I was literally 3 years old. I was taking my pillow, and I just walked outside, and I just like plopped myself in the grass. I just literally went out there and laid in the grass. And I just remember thinking to myself how gross it was, because I hate, not that I hate bugs, but like I don't like bugs crawling on me. So I was laying on the grass, and I just pictured bugs crawling all over me. And so I look up, and the hammock's there, and I'm like, okay, get in the hammock. That's probably really great. Like I felt like I needed like to be, I don't know, like cradled and rocked like a baby or something. So I was scared to get in the hammock the first day, because I was like, I'm gonna fall and people are gonna laugh at me. But on ayahuasca, that's an idea. I get off the grass, and I wasn't nervous or anxious to get in the hammock or anything. I just get up, and I remember I threw my pillow on the hammock, and I just like leaned on it, and it kind of like swayed. And I just remember like laughing and thinking it was so funny, and just feeling like I was having fun, and I was like a kid again. Like nobody was watching. It felt like nobody was watching, but the next day, someone actually, I was talking to them, and they said, last night was so cute. I like saw someone, they were like so little, and they were trying to get in the hammock, and I was like, that was me. And they just said they thought it was so cute, and it like made them laugh. So anyway, I get in the hammock, and I'm looking at the stars, and the stars were incredible. By the way, if you, or when you go to Rythmia, definitely go outside at some point. Not when you feel like you need to, but when you want to. So I'm in the hammock, and I'm just looking up at the stars, and they're just like twinkling, and they looked like they were just like falling on me, and I enjoyed it for a couple minutes. And then I just felt sick. Like I just needed some stability. I was moving too much. I felt like I needed like a hard surface. I needed to be grounded. So I'm like going through these phases of needing comfort, and I'm not really finding them anywhere. So I went and I laid on the concrete sidewalk, and I felt great for a second. I was like, okay, I'm stable. And then I got uncomfortable again. And so I'm like, what do I need now? I just kept trying to make myself comfortable. So I put my feet on the concrete, and then I laid my back into the grass, and that felt good for a second. And then I felt a bug crawling up my leg, so I was uncomfortable again. Someone told me, or someone asked me, is this how you feel in daily life? And it is. I was always running from being uncomfortable. I was running from feeling sick. I was running from negative thoughts. I was always running and trying to find comfort. If I got upset, I would think I was hungry, or I need Starbucks, or, you know, medicine. I was always running from this being uncomfortable, and that's what I was doing the second night. And I finally realized this for myself after I laid in the grass and the bug crawled on me. I was like, I need to just go inside and lay there and like lay with this and what is happening to me. So I just like hobble up into the Maloka, nowhere near my bed, and I saw Lindsay, who is this amazing healer at Rythmia, and she was the first person I saw, and I asked her if there was an empty bed, and she said no. And so I asked her if they could bring my mattress out there, which wasn't that crazy because someone did that the first night, I think. So I was like, well, maybe they can do it for me. So I asked her if they could bring my mattress out, and then we didn't really have enough time left in ceremony, so that wasn't possible. So I just laid there, and I just remember feeling like I was bothering her a little, like not bothering her, but I almost felt like I was a kid. Like she was my mom and I was a kid and I needed help, and it kind of felt nice. And I remember her like helping me and nurturing me, and it felt like a mother's love, which was just nice, and I don't know, just felt nice. So now I'm laying up against the wall. It's like right across from the bathroom, which made me feel comfortable, although I didn't purge anymore after this. So when I laid there, I thought of my father, which I was scared for this to come up because I have a lot of trauma from my dad, and I'm sure he's not aware of this. It's very hard to accept, you know, how you make other people feel, especially your children. But growing up, there was just certain things, and in adulthood, we didn't speak for 7 years, and that was very damaging to me. It was very traumatic to be ignored by one of your parents that's like supposed to be the person that loves you the most. It was very traumatic for me. And I was scared what would happen or how I would feel when that came up. And instead I just cried for him. I just cried so hard. It was like another one of those soul cries, like how I cried for my mom. And I just remember like going like this to my, sorry that looks weird, but I kept like opening my eyes as wide as I could because I just wanted him to see. I just wanted him to be aware and see and be open. And I just pictured him like old and hollow and not full of love or happiness, and I just felt sad for him. And I felt his soul come to me, and I was kind of confused, but at this time I was just going with it and going with like the medicine and what felt right to me. And so his soul came to me, and I took his soul and I put it inside of myself, and I'm like, did I just eat my dad's soul? And I kind of did. So I took my dad's soul and put it inside of myself so that I could feel his soul, and I basically took all of the love that I needed back from him. I took it from his soul, and that stayed with me, and then I released his soul. And then so I was sitting across from two of the healers or shamans, and they felt like a couple to me. They felt like they just eluded love, and they just represented my husband and I to me. And it felt like they were helping me with my marriage and with my husband, and making me more aware of what was going on. And I was told that my husband Mike was sent to me by angels, and he was like perfectly chosen for my life, and that we were chosen for each other. And my ancestors knew exactly what I needed when they sent him to me. And I felt so grateful for him. And I also felt sad because I was so sick for a couple years that he took care of me, like cooked every meal, made my bed, put my socks on for me, like everything. He did everything, and I felt like it depleted him a little bit. So I felt sad, and I just remember wanting to purge for him, and I kept asking the medicine, like, how do I purge for him? How do I help him? And I was trying to throw up, and when I was thinking this, another guest named Brett, he just fell to the ground. He was walking back from the bathroom and he fell to the ground, and he purged so hard. And I remember knowing that he purged for my husband. And so you realize during these ceremonies that we're all connected and that we're all one. So this next part was a really cool part. It was one of the most like crucial or most important parts of my ceremonies. I healed my Lyme. I saw a tick or many ticks crawl out of my body. So I didn't physically see them there on the floor, but I envisioned them and I knew that they were there. And I saw them crawling across the floor. I just remember knowing that I had to like fully get rid of them. I was like kind of outside the Maloka, all the walls are down so you can see outside, and I saw like in the distance the fire, and I remember saying, I'm sorry I can't walk over there, but I introduced myself to the fire. I forget who taught us how to introduce ourselves, but I introduced myself to the fire. I told the fire my name, my mother's name, my father's name, and I asked the fire to take my illness and take the ticks and dispose of them. And I just remember seeing it all go into smoke, like envisioned my illness, the ticks, everything just going into smoke. And I remember healing my thyroid, which wasn't working properly, and also my head. I remember knowing that like my head was gonna take a little more work. I still get headaches sometimes, but I recently got blood work, so we'll see where the Lyme is, where the thyroid is, and I'll be sure to update you guys on that. I was so happy that I was healed, and I just remember knowing that my Lyme was gone, and I just wanted to get up and dance to the music, and I couldn't. But as soon as I wanted to dance, Sarah, the female shaman, came and she just danced like around me and in the area, and I felt like she knew that I needed to be celebrated, and it was kind of cool. And then the same thing happened when I felt like I was healing my head and my thyroid. I wanted to dance again, and when I did that, Lindsay, one of the healers, she came over and she was dancing around me, and it was like both times that I wanted to dance, they came and did that for me, and I think that's just insane. The next part is I went to my childhood home, and I would drive by my childhood home sometimes, and I always wish that I could buy it and live in it again and just fix it or whatever. And I would actually dream of it too, and I would dream that I was trying to get inside and I would never get in, or I would get in and it would be the wrong house or the people wouldn't let me in, but I always wanted to go back in. And so I finally did that during my ceremony. I went to my childhood home, I cleaned everything up, I painted everything white. So like the inside was all white, the furniture, the walls, the floors, everything, and it was just sparkly. And yeah, so I went back and cleaned up my childhood home, and I got rid of like all of those childhood memories that were hurting me. And then I went to the home that I lived in with my mom and my two brothers, and I just cried so much, like so much damage happened to me there. And I lit the entire house on fire. There was so much chaos that happened there. I couldn't even rebuild it. I had to like light it on fire and just build a new house. And I created joy and happiness in the house. I cleaned up all the clutter. I just made it into this like beautiful home and this beautiful family. And I remember in my childhood home, my mom always like wanted a new dining set and she never got that. So I like gave that to her and I sat at the table with her and my two brothers, and it was just beautiful. And I just remember laying on that mat and thinking that it hurt, but I was so happy that I was with my soul and that I was learning all these things. And my teeth hurt so bad, like every night. And I later found out that when your teeth hurt during ceremony, it means spirit is removing childhood memories or healing childhood memories, and that your childhood memories live in your teeth. So my teeth hurt every day. My teeth actually started hurting before I got to Rythmia, and I made my husband like sign us up for like dental insurance because I thought something was happening, and now they feel fine. So that was ceremony number 2. That was the second night. And the third night, I guess I'll just speak as I read through this. Ceremony 3 started off pretty bizarre. So when I went into the ceremony space, I was looking for like the perfect bed, and for some reason I kept being called over to this bed that was in the corner. It was under the window and up against the wall, so I felt like I would be protected next to the wall and I would get air in from the window. And the third night was pretty uneventful. I feel like I didn't do anything all night. I wrote that I was breathing all night because that's what I was doing. I just straight up was breathing for hours, and the medicine told me that I stopped breathing 4 years ago and that now I have to breathe for 4 hours straight. So yep. So Spirit or Mother Ayahuasca told me that I stopped breathing, and Spirit also told me that I was on life support before I got to Rythmia, that I was barely living. I had no life left in me. And so for 4 hours I just practiced my breath, and I wrote that I felt so sturdy and strong. I felt so big with air. I just felt healthy. I was healing my headaches and the demons in my head from anxiety and depression. And the medicine told me that it was time to celebrate my life and not be sick anymore. And towards the end, my ego told me not to come back. So there were very mixed messages for me that night. My ego was telling me like, you're healed, you don't have to come back tomorrow. But really I was scared to do the 4th night because I felt sad, like my soul felt sad when my ego said not to come back. And then I also saw my best friend this night. I felt like she was with me, like she was on the other side of the wall. And I was told that like we're soul sisters and we've been friends like in past lives, and that her daughter is as well, and that my friend's name is Joy, and I was told that ancestors picked her name for her, that like her parents didn't come up with that it was given to them through ancestors and spirit. And her daughter's name is Scarlet, and same for her, like she just eludes love, and scarlet means red. So I was told that ancestors picked that name as well. And while I was like touching the wall and envisioning my friend, I saw her soul like lay back down into her body, and we just laid there and our souls were like holding hands, and it was just really cool. So yeah, the third night was basically a lot of breathing, whereas the other nights were a lot of like moving around and a lot of pictures and stuff like that. I never saw colors really. I think the 4th night I saw colors, but And also during ceremony, at least for me, when you open your eyes, it's not like, I don't know if you're picturing like seeing a bunch of crazy things when you open your eyes, but I didn't. The most I saw was like the shadows were moving around a little bit. Like at one point, the shadows kind of looked like an outline of a flower to me on the ceiling. The stars looked like really different, and trying to think what else. Oh, at one point I remember looking up at the ceiling and thinking, how did they put two fans like so close to each other? It looked like one fan was high and then the second fan was like hanging lower. And then when they turned the lights on and I like came out of this, when I wasn't drunk anymore, I realized that there was just one fan. So stuff like that might happen. So that was the third night. I just was breathing, and I adopted this idea that I need to breathe. And I was kind of laughing because I was like, I came all the way to Costa Rica and to Rythmia to realize that I wasn't breathing. And it's kind of funny because when I would take a deep breath, my head would hurt worse. And I used to tell doctors that, and they would just say like, I'm crazy, it doesn't make sense. And the problem was I wasn't breathing enough. So when I would take that deep breath and it would go to my head, it would like I would feel it. So I just wasn't breathing. And even now I notice sometimes I start to shallow breathe, and when I start shallow breathing, that's when the anxiety sets in, the mean self-talk sets in. So those are things to definitely be aware of, and I learned that during ceremony. And the fourth night was like one of my favorite. I mean, every night was my favorite, but night 4 was a Colombian tradition. We drank yahe with Leo Cordero. He was amazing. And that day going into ceremony, I remember feeling like very full of shame, and I was sad, and I felt like I didn't get enough out on the third night. I felt like I had these feelings stuck with me, and I just wanted to like release the last bit of feelings that I didn't get out. And the third day, I remember feeling shamed because I didn't have the money to buy the packages and the extra things and stuff like that. So I just felt embarrassed and I felt shamed because that's how I used to feel when I was younger, because we grew up without a lot of money when my parents divorced. So I never used to have like basic necessities. So I was always embarrassed, and I remember feeling that going into ceremony on the fourth night, and I guess that's something that stuck with me. So on the fourth night, since I got all of my miracles the other nights, this was kind of just like a free night, and so my intention was to just feel again, feel happy. So the first part was putting my shame to bed. It was telling me that I felt shamed because I didn't have money, and that money is not what makes you a good person. So the spirit was telling me that the things I do for the earth and the things I do for other people and how I treat other humans and animals, and that's all the good stuff that makes me who I am, and not to worry about money. And this night was actually really difficult because I felt numb. Like I felt nothing all night, which was kind of scary. Like I just felt nothing. I was just laying there, and I laid in the same bed as the third night, and I just felt nothing. I was like touching the wall. I just wanted to feel something. I just wanted to feel anything, and it was super frustrating. And I remember I just remember like waiting for the morning to come and waiting for the ceremony to be over, and I just sat with myself all night and like really took inventory of who I am and things I've been through. And I just remember thinking that I never wanted to be numb again, because I used to say that to my husband all the time, like, I'm just numb, I've been so hurt, I just didn't feel anything anymore. And when I when the morning came after that 4th night, I remember going up to like the healing circle, because that morning they have everyone come up and they personally come and help you. And I just remember when the shamans and the healers were coming to me, they were using all of their tools, like the leaves that they use and the water and everything. And I just remember feeling like coming back into my body, and I just remember I never wanted to feel like that again. And so far, so good. Since I've been home, I don't feel like that anymore. If anything, I feel everything, and everything feels more intense, and I'm just taking like a mental notice, and I'm observing myself instead of judging myself. And on the 3rd night, I think I started talking about it, but I can't remember. But the 3rd night, I was trying to find a bed, and I finally found this bed in the corner, and it was under the window and next to the wall, so the wall felt really safe to me. And then the window above me, I would feel the air come in, so that felt like cleansing. And when I walked over to the bed, there was like a dead fly on it, and I was like, so I'm like, why is my energy pushing me here if there's a dead fly on the bed? So I walked around a little more, and like for some reason I just wanted to go back to this bed. So I like kind of like pushed the fly onto the floor, and I was just sitting there, and I just remember having this immense feeling of guilt that I did that. So I literally picked the fly up and I put it in my hand, and I was like, you had a soul as well, and I just like dismissed you and pushed you on the floor. So I literally picked the fly up and I took it outside and I put it on the ground, and I chose that bed. So those were my nights. It's kind of crazy. It like sounds like nothing when I'm talking about it right now, but it feels like everything. So it's hard to get it out and talk about how intense and how beautiful it was afterwards. You just have this sense of clarity and freedom and strength, and it's just so eye-opening. So I totally feel like it took me back like 8 years worth of healing, like how I felt 8 years ago. So I don't feel like 100% better, but I am totally better than before I went to Rythmia, because I helped heal my mental health, and that has a direct correlation on how you feel physically. So if you're struggling with autoimmune and you can't heal, you feel like you've exhausted all options. I'm not saying medicine doesn't work, because sometimes we do need modern medicine, but if it's not working for you, then there's something deep down that you need to heal. And I felt like ayahuasca really helped me heal that. So I'm 100% on this road of healing now, and I can't wait to go back to Rythmia. I can't wait to do ayahuasca again and just connect with myself some more, because that feeling is incredible, and I feel like I still have a lot to work on, but it's nothing, or I should say it's different from what I went there for. What I went there for, I 100% healed. My trauma from my parents, I feel completely different about that. The things that I say to myself, I don't say those things anymore. I feel like I was like projected, like shot out of a cannon onto this new journey, and it's kind of cool. Another thing I really loved about the 4th ceremony and Leo is that the next morning he really helped us have an understanding of like food and family, and there was so much more that went into the ceremony. The shamans just have so much wisdom and information for us, and I just couldn't wait to get home and put it into action. One of them being to be more of service to my family, especially my husband, because that's what we're put here on this earth to do, is to serve others and to be love and to be helpful to others. And I just couldn't wait to get home and do that. So I started editing and realized, and she's gone. I started editing and realized somehow the last video I took got messed up. So I wanted to re-record to say thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to be creating 2 more videos, one being how plant medicine affected my autoimmune, and the next one is going to be more visual about what Rythmia looks like, so what you can expect going there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any questions or anything below and I will get back to you guys. I love you. Thank you. Bye.